Hello, welcome everyone. We're going to wait a few more minutes for everybody to show up before we get going, but nice to have you here. So have you had people join from outside Ontario or Sarah, or are most people within Ontario?
Yeah, I think I haven't had a chance to look at every single event that has come through in terms of who actually attended, but yeah, we've had some interesting folks from all over the place, so it's been great.
Yeah, nice. Is everybody here in Ontario? Everybody's joining us now? Yeah.
Oh, wow. We have Holly from South Korea, Jennifer from Missouri. Wow.
Oh, nice. Glad somebody's paying attention to the chat. I always forget that. So what time is it in South Korea for you? Are we keeping you up for our workshop? Okay. So you're that far ahead that you're already awake tomorrow. That's awesome.
I believe there was a message early on in the chat saying to focus the questions and responses in the chat. This is going to be a very interactive
Workshop.
hour and a half. So you guys are more than welcome and encouraged to speak as well.
So we can probably get going pretty soon.
Okay.
There might be a couple more people joining us soon, but
And Sarah, just to clarify, the waiting room participants will automatically be entered in now. Is that correct?
Yes.
all right. Oh, we're recording already, so I guess we can get started. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for our workshop today. My name is Andrea Hemrick. I am one of the co-founders of Up for the Challenge, along with Catherine and Lauren. So we're really excited to be running this workshop for you, with you. We run youth programming to promote STEM in a way that really connects STEM to the social impact of what we're doing in terms of design. So you're going to get a flavor of what we do in these design workshops that we usually run with younger people in the sort of grade 7 to 10 age range. And hopefully you'll get a sense of how you can bring this. I know some of you are coming in from an education background, so how you might use this in your work, whether it's education or some other field that you're coming from. Hopefully you'll gain something from today's workshop that you can use in your work and in your life. So I will hand it over to Lauren and Catherine. They can introduce themselves.
Hi, everybody. My name is Catherine. I'm currently at work, which is why I'm following COVID precautions and wearing a mask, even though I'm alone. I like Andrea mentioned, I helped co-found this wonderful initiative. I'm currently a research coordinator at the Ottawa Hospital, working kind of with trying to keep people healthy, moving, and finding interesting and kind of stem cell based therapies to treat diseases like osteoarthritis. I also apologize if my live transcription isn't perfect. I'm assuming that there's going to be some issues with the mask. Apologies for that in advance.
My name is Lauren Folk, and I joined Up for the Challenge several years back ago, kind of in its first round of programming, and loved it so much that they can't get rid of me. I am currently in Jacksonville, Florida, working as a transportation engineer, so working on new developments and existing roadways to help improve safety and operations.
Okay. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. We've got a slide deck, and we're going to get you to join in the slide deck shortly. But I will start with a screen share. Okay, hold on. I just realized I'm on the. Let's see if that works. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
All right. Good. So I will hand it over to Catherine.
So we do want to acknowledge that. So I'm doing the Toronto land acknowledgements. Canada is a very large and extensive area, so that we kind of decided that one is the central one. We want to acknowledge that the land known as Canada is the traditional territories of a lot of different Indigenous nations. In Toronto, we have the Mississaugas, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and we want to give the acknowledgements that of the knowledge and expertise that Indigenous people have and bring to the table.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so
yeah, go for it.
The challenge that we are going to be designing for today is the packaging that comes along with the increased prevalence of online shopping. So we're going to start by doing a word cloud to kind of do some quick brainstorming about some of the ideas related to the challenges with packaging from online shopping. So if you go to slido.com and in the event code type in capital UP number 4, then you should be able to see the. Can I get confirmation from someone they're able to see and type in with the poll in the poll? So with this, ideally, we would like to stick to one-word answers. Think big picture, think little picture. We just want kind of as many ideas that come up with when you think of some of the challenges around the idea of packaging associated with online shopping.
Sorry.
So we'll start by, you can enter more than one, I believe. If you type in your answer and hit enter, you'll be able to continue adding more. So the idea is to get as many ideas as we can. So these can be things related to the environment, related to people, related to people receiving the packages, delivering the packages, preparing the packages. We'll do a couple more seconds of hidden and then I'll open it up so everyone can see some of the answers that we're coming up with. All right, so feel free to keep adding as we look at this and discuss. So the words that are showing up larger, these are words that people have entered, more than one person has entered. So we'll see that waste and wasteful seem to be the biggest points that we've discussed. We have things like landfills, non-biodegradable, freezer packs. Yeah, I guess something else to consider with that is the idea of online shopping could be everything from clothes to groceries to takeout to meal prep boxes to school supplies. Ah, we see we have some that are like more cars on the road as well. Choking hazard.
Oh, didn't think of that one.
Would the person who wrote leftovers mind elaborating? Either in the chat or... Hello?
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Yes, for leftovers?
Yeah.
For leftovers, any package, the box and paper or whatever it's wrapped in to keep it safe, what is up all over the house but has the leftovers and it's up in the trash? Or it's tangled around the cat's paws, or it's dragged around the kids.
So are you talking, sorry,
Leftover packages.
the connection was a little shaky. Are you talking about the leftovers, like the that result from the packaging?
Yes.
Gotcha. That's a good idea. You mentioned the
packaging.
Go ahead. If you're having difficulty with the connection, you could also try using the chat function as well. I think if I understood correctly, it's the idea of the leftover remnants of the packaging and how that can, I believe you mentioned, its impact on like family pets and children even as well. So it even could be a safety issue. All right.
Yeah, and that's connected with the choking hazards.
Yeah.
So I've added in the word cloud into our slide deck. I'm going to share the link for the slide deck and everybody can join here because we're going to make this interactive as we go. And so we'd like your contributions to our slide deck as we move through the workshop. Is that link working? Is everybody able to open the Google Slides? Am I still sharing my screen? Because I'm going to quit doing that.
Yep.
Okay. Hold on. I just have to move over. Lost my window. Hold on.
Okay.
Do you want to move on to the how might we statements, assuming that
Sure.
we can?
It looks like we have a fair number of anonymous animals in the Google Drive.
Okay.
So the goal with the how might we statements is based on some of the ideas that we just brainstormed in our word cloud, coming up with how might we address some of these, or ideas as to how might we improve the experience for the people interacting with the packaging. So whether that's those ordering, those who require packaging, those who are delivering packaging, as well as some of the environmental issues that were addressed in the word cloud. So the idea is to do an example of how might we make packaging safer for small children, or how might we, along those lines. So within the table right here, you guys are free. We can start by brainstorming together as a group a whole bunch of different how might we statements based off of some of the ideas that we came up with in the word cloud. And again, Andrea put a copy of that on slide number 3. So if you guys want to go back and have a look at some of the ideas that we came up with, you can look on that one, and then feel free to start brainstorming away. You're also welcome to discuss as a group as well.
And these can be crazy ideas too. It doesn't have to feel feasible at this point. That's not the point of the how might we statement, because we can get to that after. So even if it feels like something that we can't do, but you think it'd be a fun idea, throw it in there and we'll see where it takes us.
We do have 2 different slides in case we fill up the first one.
I like the one that somebody added, how might we make packaging edible?
I'll move fast. I'll put one more slide, seeing as we seem to be on a roll. So again, if we're thinking about some of the challenges we talked about, freezer packs, multiple materials used, landfills, more cars on the road, cars idling while delivering.
I just saw the photo that you shared, Giuliano, and it really is incredible. These huge boxes, and like you've got, you know, one tiny little thing in there. Yeah, I mean, the amount of sort of recycling generated from that seems absurd.
I've got an interesting one about making packaging more protective so you can use less of it.
And I think a few related around making delivery more efficient. And I think I'm assuming, but if my assumption is correct, then let me know. But that's maybe sort of along the same lines of you know, how might we? Oh, I just have to find it now. So reduce cars on the road. I mean, there's so many cars now delivering all these packages. if we can do that more efficiently somehow, can we reduce the number of cars that are needed for that? Yeah. I like that one too. How might we return packaging back to the sellers for reuse? That's an interesting question, yeah.
Are we supposed to be voting?
Are we at that point yet? Are we done the statements?
We still have people going, so I was
Okay.
do 1 more minute.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I was thinking we bought some stuff recently from Amazon. And all the time, every time we open a box, we're like, oh, I wish I could send it back because there's so much packaging here. I'm not going to do anything with all this stuff. And maybe they can repackage the same items if they want, if they're, they sell so much of it, of these items, they can probably reuse it. There's no use for me, but there's a use for them, and maybe you could get small credit for it. I don't know, $1 for every kilogram that we return or something. It's just so stupid that we waste so much materials to consume other materials. Like it's, the box is not something that you're consuming. What you're consuming is what is inside. And to consume that thing that is inside, you have to create this amount of waste outside just to wrap that thing. I think part of it is cultural. Why we do this. Why do we wrap presents, for example? I know it's a silly example, but why do we waste money on gift wrapping and things like that? Why is that we have set these standards for sharing things with other people that require us to go out and buy something that they're not going to use anyways, just for them to, I don't know, rip at some point and say, oh yeah, thank you for the present. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I was just noticing that because I bought my kids some sunglasses off Amazon. So you get the Amazon box. This is like similar to what you showed in your picture. Then you get a box that has sort of a plastic wrap around it. So you take off the plastic wrap, and there's a box, cardboard box. Inside the cardboard box is the glasses case. Inside the glasses case is the actual glasses that are in plastic. So, I mean, the number of layers of packaging is really incredible.
Does anyone else have a crazy example of extra packaging they've received?
I don't know if anyone orders like Good Food or any of those like food boxes, but in our house we have a ton of those like the cooler packs that come with them, and I mean they're in our freezers and you can't return them and they won't take them back. And it's like this has like chemicals in them, like you have to properly dispose of it. I feel like that would be that's a lot. I don't know if anyone has ever seen them.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I think that's almost, I'm just going to add, how might we, before we vote here, I can sneak one in here.
On slide 6, there's a line, Andrew. You can go for it.
All right. How might we safely, dispose of?
With those regard to those freezer packs, it also is like, okay, it's the first couple are great because you're like, oh yeah, I'll reuse these myself. And then you end up with your freezer full of those instead of actual food.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got 3 slides worth?
We have 4 slides.
4 slides. Very nice. Okay. Do you want to explain the voting? What we're going to do next?
So what we're going to do, are we going to pick one, Andrea?
Sorry, I'm on mute again. Yeah, let's do one.
So what we're going to do now is in the preferences column along the side of those different ones, if everyone wants to put, you have 3 votes. And if everyone wants to put a little star, like the little asterisk in the beside the how might we statement that they find most interesting and that they would like to kind of dive further into, then we'll use that as a way to vote on which one we'll take forward. So yeah, you can put 3 votes, you can put them all in one, you can put them on different ones, however you want. And again, we have 4 different slides.
We've got so many slides. It's like it's taking just a couple minutes just to read throughout everybody's suggestions. So this is great.
I'm gonna Right. So it looks like we have 4 different ones that have 3 different votes. So
We need a tiebreaker.
we need a tiebreaker. So I'm going to So if we want to focus on slide 1, we have how might we reduce, eliminate packaging. Slide 2, we have how might we make packaging reusable in the home, example, cat litter, fertilizer. How might we encourage individuals to reuse their packaging? And then on slide 3, we have how might we return packaging back to the seller. So let's say if everyone gets one more vote, let's just make a vote on one of those 3. And hopefully that will lead us to our Okay, so it looks like if someone was having an issue with the computer, we're using the shared Google Drive, which document, which was a link in the chat, and we're on slides 4 through 7, and we're just voting in the preferences column, but which statement that we are most interested in pursuing further. So it looks like we have a tie yet again. I wonder if there's a way on slide 5, those 2 almost in a way seem related. And then it's kind of the idea of reusing of the packaging. Does that seem?
Yeah, I think we should combine those.
All right. So.
Yeah. So how might we encourage individuals to reuse their packaging in the home? We can sort of focus on the home, in, around the home, in that setting. It could even be just in your neighborhood. Okay. So the next thing, are we ready to move on to brainstorming? Yeah. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is brainstorming around that particular how might we statement. How might we actually reduce or sorry, reuse packaging in and around the home? And when we do brainstorming typically in groups because we're working collaboratively to build on each other's ideas. So we've got a few rules, brainstorming rules to sort of keep us on track of what we're doing and making sure that we are going through sort of a generative process. So coming up with as many ideas as possible. And so we're going to start by saying yes and. So you can add answers into the yeah, I was going to say in the chat, but actually we want to be adding answers right onto the slide, ideas rather than answers, but just you can also say it out loud so we are listening to what other people are suggesting, because that helps us generate more ideas when you're listening to other people, okay? And so a good way to think about this is when somebody's got an answer, start with yes and. So rather than no, but that's not going to work, that's often what we do is sort of say, well, that can't work, whatever. We don't need to worry about what's feasible right now. Brainstorming, we're getting as many answers as we can. We're going for quantity, and it can be crazy, crazy ideas, because it's often those crazy ideas that lead us to really innovative, creative solutions. So start with yes and, build on one another's ideas, and then add your ideas onto the slide. So we're going to be using slide 10. The other thing, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was looking, we have slide 6 and slide 9 and 10 are all the same right now.
Oh, sorry. One of those slides. Get back to you on that. The last thing I was just going to say is the third rule that we've got there around be visual. So feel free to grab images from the web. We're not going to share this particular screen, so don't worry too much about copyright issues. This isn't about stealing somebody else's image. It's about just sharing something visual, so it gives you a better sense of what you're actually thinking about. Okay, so text, images, if you want to draw on the slide, go for it. Anything you want to add to the slide, this is our chance to do that. So we're going to take about 5 minutes and brainstorm around this idea. So I think we are on slide 9 now. How might we make packaging reusable in the home? And so there's some examples: cat litter, fertilizer, whatever crazy ideas you can come up with, and try and also just if you want to unmute yourselves, add to the discussion. All right, so somebody's added, I think it was the anonymous manatee, suggested cat litter bag becomes garbage bag for the cat litter afterwards. Yeah, so the bag that the litter comes in. What else? What else could we do with, let's say, cardboard or the containers from food, or even the freezer packs that someone was mentioning? Make packaging easier to store, more collapsible. Great. Include suggestions for alternative uses on the box itself. That's a great idea.
I'm just going to reduce the size of the text so that we can fit a little bit
Yeah.
more on it.
Shift this over a little bit. Sea monkeys that eat packaging. Yes. Oh. Recycled art, arts and crafts, nice. Did I miss any yet? So think about where packaging has new life. Yeah, cardboard in a veggie garden.
Just made a duplicate of the slide in case we need more space.
I like that idea. Colder climates using packaging as insulation, if there's a possibility for that.
And though in a lot of older buildings, you'll often find newspaper in the walls when they're doing renovations.
All right. So I think we'll take like 2 minutes to wrap this up. If anybody needs a stretch break, feel free to take one now too.
Has anyone in their own life come up with a unusual or creative way of reusing packaging from their boxes?
Pet chewing material. Catherine, I think you had Lauren in mind there.
I was just going to
Please.
say, as someone who has a young puppy who likes to chew on everything.
Well, I as somebody who loves dogs but doesn't have the work-life balance for dogs, I've always had small rats and gerbils and hamsters, and those things chew everything. And their teeth, because they're rodents, their teeth constantly grow, so you have to give them stuff to chew on. So it like at the height of my rats chewing days, I would go through a tissue box in an hour. That's how quick they were. So I would have all of my like lab friends saving me boxes of stuff, and they just go crazy. A lot of fun. Horrible to clean up, but what we do for our animals.
What could we do with the remnants of it?
Well, it was pretty disgusting by when my boys were done with it. Like rats are lovely. They're amazing pets. They do like to make messes of everything.
If people have additional ideas they'd like to add, we do have a second. Slide number 10 is also space for, again, pictures or drawings or text ideas.
Did anybody find that looking at somebody else's answers gave them more ideas with what they were doing besides me? Julia, no, I'm not. Are you talking to us? You're on mute.
Sorry, no. My wife is next to me and she's following the workshop as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, tell her to join us.
Oh, she's shy. So I'm actually, well, so she wanted to know what you said. And then I said, well, that's what she said. That's what Andrea said. She's like, oh, okay. So we're just back and forth here.
Okay.
You're
Well,
building
got
up.
any ideas, throw them on the slides. Yeah, we probably have to wrap it up in like 1 or 2 minutes.
One thing also to keep in mind with the question is not only what can we do with it to reuse it, but how can we actually make the packaging itself more friendly for being able to be reused. So
Yeah.
like having standard sizes of things that then could fit together easily, or having things.
The idea for blocks or turning it into toys, I like that one. So.
Well, because my wife, she works at the store called the Children's Place. And it's a store that sells clothes for children. And they got, after the lockdown, they got about, how many boxes? 80 boxes. 80 boxes, like big boxes, full of clothes. Every item comes individually wrapped. Everything. Like if you have 100 underwear pieces, every little one comes in a plastic bag. If you have 200 t-shirts, every single one comes wrapped in only the amount of time that it takes for them to unwrap it, it's ridiculous. Half of the time they're just unwrapping things. They say it's because of the pandemic. They're trying to make everything more safe for people to handle. The same thing is with Starbucks. We have a Starbucks just next door, and our daughters work. Both of our daughters work at Starbucks, so we go often. And because of the pandemic, we cannot use our cups. So we have to rely on the disposable cups, and it just becomes too much at some point. So I understand that part of what we're seeing is because of the pandemic. I guess it could be explained by that, but that's another side of the pandemic, right? The people are probably producing more waste because of all the regulations and whatnot that are required for us to feel safer.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, how might we actually, have the same safety standards without all of that packaging? How much of that is actually necessary? Because I think some of the things that we're seeing through this pandemic, some of these things are going to stay, like Zoom meetings. Hopefully we'll be doing things in person. And hopefully people will feel more comfortable going back into stores. But a lot of people, having things delivered is convenient. It was before, but definitely, we're using it so much more. And the way that stores are adapting, it's becoming even more convenient. So how do we make sure that we make it a sustainable practice, right? rather than just expecting everything to go back to what we had before.
On that note, we had a couple comments in the chat talking about how this isn't necessarily a new thing. It's like it's people who've worked in consumer goods have seen how things are individually wrapped, and only now when we're getting everything delivered to our own house is it kind of bringing it into our own space. That was a really good point that was brought up in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, but even just from using different materials, I was just thinking when I was in India many years ago, that, just at one of the sort of roadside stands where they were selling lassi, so the yogurt drinks, and they were putting them in these ceramic cups, which were quite nice, I thought. And then people would finish their lassi on the side of the road and then drop them, smash these cups. And I was like, wow. But that's just because the material, it was just so quick to make, and the material could be reused, in a different way. And so it wasn't the same as what you're describing in terms of going to Starbucks and then having this, the coffee cups aren't even recyclable. So, how can we maybe that's one to add on to the slide before we wrap things up, but just use, I'm wondering if somebody has this here and I missed it, but materials, that can be either biodegradable materials or used in another format. So there we go. I see it there. So was that Holly in South Korea? So you're saying delivery companies come pick up packaging the next day and reuse it in South Korea. So they're already doing this.
So I guess kind of on the opposite end of making things more instantaneously biodegradable, making them of a higher quality such that they can be, it's not styrofoam that you can't reuse, it's a container that then could be reused.
Yeah. So as you're wrapping up your last ideas, Lauren, did you want to explain the storyboarding?
Sure. So the idea with the storyboard is kind of creating, I guess we want to pick one of our ideas, Andrea? Is that kind of the best approach for this?
I think so. If we need to clarify some of the ideas, we can do that now too.
Yeah, so I guess either
combine.
If people are willing to share by speaking it out or by putting it in the chat, kind of if there was an idea that really stands out to them, with kind of, again, how we'd like to follow through on that for the purpose of this workshop.
Do you want to explain what we're going to do with the storyboards that might help people?
Yeah, sure. So the storyboard idea is where once we kind of have an idea that we're going to build off of, it's kind of breaking it down a little bit more into like, okay, what does this look like? What's the initial problem or issue? And then how do we kind of move through the process? Or like, maybe it's at the beginning of our idea, we have something like, this is how it starts. This is how it moves through the packaging process, and this is what it ends up with. Or maybe our storyboard idea starts with when the package arrives at your house, and kind of how we work through visualizing how this idea that we've come up with kind of takes form. In a way, the idea with this is that if we were taking this forward again, we could then use our storyboard to go out to people and get feedback on it by kind of making a way that's easier for them to see what it is, our solution that we're coming up with, to really get some feedback on it, and therefore be able to prototype again and make the idea even better. So it's a way of kind of making the idea, building on it a little bit more and making it accessible for people to kind of understand what your idea is. Does anyone want to share or mention, either out loud or in the chat if there was an idea that really they found appealing or intriguing or something they hadn't thought of before.
I can elaborate a little on some of the suggestions I put, if that would help.
Sure.
So I'm a pretty artsy person, if y'all hadn't noticed. And so I like to reuse stuff for projects a lot. I'm also a very organized person. So I have boxes full of like little boxes I have, for example, like if I've ordered makeup or something, which obviously like does need to be protected so it doesn't get shattered. I have like a couple of containers where I can use those, and I can like rearrange them into organizers for the makeup, or keep them in the package, or do some kind of art project with. But when I was thinking about this, I realized like someone like me, I have a lot of ideas and a lot of resources that I know how to use to come up with these ideas. But for the average person, if you tell them like, oh, like you should come up with something else to do with this, that might be too much of an inconvenience for them. So the more suggestions that we have on how to do that, I think answering the like how piece helps, because like for example, I worked in res life for a couple of years recently, and I would tell my students, oh, like if you need this, that, and the other thing, call our front desk. But like if they didn't know how, if they didn't know where to find the number, if they didn't know who was at the desk or those kinds of things, that was like a barrier to them. So a lot of my ideas that I use could have been answers for like how we can alternative use this for packaging, but I ended up thinking more about how we can remove the barriers to like making that accessible for the average consumer.
So was one of yours, did you mention putting suggestions right on the package itself about how to reuse it?
Like I had peanut butter earlier this morning, and on the back of the label, it says like, oh, try this recipe, and like have these suggestions. I was like, well, what if, you know, when you get like an egg carton or something, like it was a little printed thing that says like use to store. Like I've seen people use egg cartons to store like condiments, like condiment bottles upside down keeps them from falling over in the fridge. So little suggestions like that just on the packaging, or what I said about it being collapsible, because storing your packaging, if you want to reuse it, takes up a lot of space. But if it's like those containers, you ever see those cloth ones where they like come folded up and they have like a piece that you can put in the bottom to like keep it stable? If it was like that kind of a setup, then you could just have like one shelf just filled with all these boxes instead of having to dedicate a lot of space in your home to it.
Yeah.
We had a cool idea in the chat via Juliana's wife. The idea of having companies ask consumers to send in ideas that then they would include on logos. So it's kind of the idea of for those people who are super creative and have these tons of ideas to kind of use their ideas and then have them on different labels. And also, we can make it a contest. We have someone say the idea of, what else do we say?
Yeah, I was going to say, if, you know, if there's some sort of reward, you know, so put your suggestions in, and almost like the Lego ideas. We had a group working with Lego ideas where, you know, an idea was made into a Lego kit. So, you know, maybe if you come up with the best ideas, those are the ones that are featured on, you know, on the packaging for a month, and then it moves on to a different idea or something like that.
Or even from like a public involvement idea, like if people then send pictures into like a social media account or something of the cool thing they've done with their boxes, and have that also, or that their packaging, have that also be part of a contest.
Great. So in terms of putting this on a storyboard, basically the storyboard is just, you know, a chance to see what the person who's receiving the packaging, what their experience is as they get the package, as they see these suggestions on the package, or there's, you know, they see the contest idea, what they're doing, and then ultimately the outcome that we want to achieve is that the packaging is reused in a way that it's not just thrown in the blue bin or in the garbage, right? So what we want to do is take some, grab some images or sketch, if you can, right on the storyboard boxes. So slide 11. If we want to add more than the 4, that's just a suggestion, but it's sort of 4 scenes. You know, the first one might be starting with somebody receiving a package and what's on that package.
Or even like the what's happening at the company when they're putting together a contest to come up with it, maybe before it even gets to your house.
Yes, good point, Lauren.
Does anyone have any questions moving on with the storyboard? If so, just feel free to put it in the chat or ask.
Great, ideas are still coming. Use TikTok to make it a trend.
Whoops. What happened?
All right, so 1 minute just to finish up, wrap up our ideas. So we're starting the first slide is crowdsourcing contests. Include pictures of people who submit the ideas. And then we've got our second image or part of the story, team with schools to make it part of, hold on, there's something else coming. Okay, so we've got recipe ideas, and then people are actually using the ideas that are suggested in the third image. And then sharing ideas through TikTok, saving money, is that it? And less garbage is produced. Did I get that right, or did I miss something?
For the money sign on the last one, I was thinking it could either be like some kind of reward for a contest, either more of a product or some kind of contest style.
Because I was thinking, I don't know, if seeing that made me think this, or probably, but just if people are actually reusing the materials, then they might be saving money if they're not actually buying the products to serve whatever purpose the materials are now doing for them. So that's an incentive too.
We had one comment in the chat saying about kind of online communities as well. So having like a website or places where people can suggest alternatives, or even could probably even be a place where like you could have like a social connection about sharing ideas that you've come up with, or troubleshooting, okay, I had this issue when I was trying to do this, other people having ideas. So kind of that sense of community as well.
Pinterest, exactly.
Sorry, was that you, Catherine?
Yep. No, someone said like Pinterest, and I was like, exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to explain what we're doing next with the stem flower?
In the for time, so we've got this, you know, very interesting idea to help kind of reduce the amount of waste that we have with online purchases. And the next activity, so on slide 12, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of show how the STEM components lead to some amount of change. So you'll see a very beautiful flower on slide 9. In the roots and the stem, let's talk about the different elements of STEM that exist within this idea. And then that leads to the head of the flower being open, and that is the social change. So an example I would think of would be for this contest, we would need to have some amount of computer program to determine who is the winner. You know, people maybe enter on a website, and somehow we need to randomly draw a name. That seems like a pretty easy, simple computer program that we need to run. That requires a little bit of technology knowledge to code said program. So that could be something that you put, and then the social change would be, you know, we could see more, you know, less garbage would be the easy one. But there's other more interesting social change that exists. So what I'm hoping everybody can do is write the STEM stuff that they see in the green boxes, and then the social outcome stuff in the orange boxes. Type away.
Just to clarify again, that STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math.
And with the social outcomes, so the orange boxes, think a little bit about who's using the packaging, and maybe anybody else who's sort of involved and what that's doing for them. You know, what is this? How is this helping all of us really by reducing this packaging? I'm going to start reading some of them. So we've got some of the social outcomes. Builds more community around people who use similar products. Increased awareness of negative impacts. Less waste. More money saved. Save money because I didn't need to buy garden supplies. Feel good that I have less garbage or produce less garbage. Sense of community, and that box is disappearing on me. Sense of community in terms of sort of what we're doing with the waste, I think, I don't know. Increased creativity. Yeah. I think there's that fun aspect that one of our participants was talking about. I'm just looking at your room now. And it looks really fun, right? So I love that. Makes thinking about sustainability second nature, provides communities with sense of agency. Skills building and sharing. Yes. Yeah, that's a great one too. And then some of the STEM aspects. So website for individuals to upload ideas, technology to deal with and print images, material science, making what the packages are made of easier to reuse.
Yes, I like that one.
Yeah, green printing tech to produce labels. Yeah, coding skills for creating programs. So supply chain, managing how things are delivered. That's the one I was thinking of as well. It's almost a separate one maybe that I could put in is, you know, potentially fewer garbage trucks, garbage recycling trucks on the road. So, well, that's another social outcome, I guess, a social environmental outcome. But, you know, maybe the scheduling of waste pickup needs to be changed because we don't actually need waste pickup once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Go ahead, Catherine. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that what is really coming through with this and kind of as we move through the process is how almost easy it is to work, like even though we're in this kind of weird, you know, digital world, we can still, you know, collaborate and build off of each other's ideas in a really kind of interesting way that, you know, brings out a lot of creativity. You know, there's things that, you know, when you guys were typing and talking, I would never have thought of. But then when somebody else said something, I went, oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, just to add to that, I was thinking the same kind of thing. How many people came into this workshop thinking that this was the idea that we were going to come up with? You know, there's some sort of like obvious solutions that come to mind immediately, but this was not it for me, you know? So, and that's through this, as Catherine's saying, building on each other's ideas, that we came up with some of these ideas. So.
And then I just got in the chat from Maha. I apologize if that is not how you pronounce your name correctly. They had an excellent idea of, you know, it encourages individuals to kind of get creative, and then they could sell their products, and, you know, we could start kind of little tiny side hustles, and, you know, especially if those are, you know, students in that kind of late elementary school, early high school phase, really get them going on some, you know, entrepreneurial skills, but then also the skills needed to run a business. To run a business, you have to have some fairly strong understanding of how math works, because accounting is math. And so that's brilliant. Yes. Love it.
Definitely. And I think what we want to be doing, you know, as Up for the Challenge, what we're trying to do is also introduce you to some different ways of thinking about design that incorporate all of these different skills, not just STEM, but how it all fits together, as Catherine said, you know, business skills. And in doing that, you know, hopefully generate interest in design sort of more broadly, to bring in people who might not think of themselves necessarily as little scientists or you know, little engineers, when we're talking about, you know, the kids in grade 7 to 10 and that sort of age range. They might be thinking, you know, I'm more interested in something else. Once they see how it's all connected, having an appreciation for how it all fits together will hopefully generate more interest in some of these fields that they might not have necessarily been thinking is a way that they can actually change, you know, change their community for the better, if that's what they're interested in doing, sort of changing the world. So, so that's what we want to be doing in terms of generating interest, bringing people in who are to work together from different backgrounds, different experiences, because it's going to make the ideas, I think, you know, that we've seen here today, the ideas that much more interesting, more innovative, and ultimately we'll end up with a better outcome.
Okay. And now we have one thing that we'd ask of you. I'm going to attempt to launch a poll, and if everybody could fill out that poll, we would greatly appreciate it. I'm gonna launch it. Hopefully this works. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'm going to give you a little bit more time to fill out the poll.
We had a comment talking about being able to reuse workshop like this in the classroom and things like that. And that's all part of this as well, as kind of the idea of, especially with younger students as well, kind of really getting them engaged in things that they care about as a way of kind of helping to teach and convey STEM components as well. I think it's sometimes, if you just look at STEM as science, technology, engineering, and math, if you don't understand the why or the what you can do with this, or like latching on to what students really care about, it can sometimes be a little bit more difficult to really have them connect with it. But if you can find a way to connect it to, look, you can use these components to help you tackle this problem you care about, or make this thing you love even better, then I think it can really make science more fun to a lot of people, and interesting.
And I'm just going to sort of throw this out there. If anybody has any comments or questions about what we're doing, but you know, we'd be interested in sort of getting your feedback more generally outside of this poll as well. But in terms of what you liked with a workshop and what works for you, what clicked for you.
I personally liked how interactive it was, you know, like as soon as you put on the Google Doc, even if you were shy to speak out in the Zoom meeting, you were able to give your ideas and, you know, say what you're thinking. So that was really helpful for me personally.
Thank you.
That's one thing we found switching to kind of doing some activities online, is it can be can be challenging to get the same level of engagement if people are uncomfortable, either being on camera or speaking. So kind of embracing other means of communicating as well to make sure those people can still be engaged.
Exactly. Huh. I think I can say thank you to all of our participants. You guys, every time I do this, I'm blown away by how creative individuals can be. And I so very much enjoyed learning from each and every one of you. It was a wonderful experience. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I echo that. So I always love seeing the ideas and hearing, different suggestions, ideas that people come up with. It's always a new experience for us. It never gets boring. So it's a lot of fun.
Andrea, if you want to share your slides again, we have all of our social media information as well. If you guys would like to stay connected with us and involved. I don't believe our email address is on there, but that's listed on our website. So you're more than welcome to get in touch with us if you guys would like to do things with us in the future or just have some further ideas. We would love to stay connected with you guys.
All right, so brainstorming, storyboards, Stemflower. So this is us up for the challenge. And these are all of the partners for National Engineering Month. So big shout out to National Engineering Month who helped make this possible and all of the partners who helped as well. And thank you to you for participating.